this way before. Travel with open door. Circumstances navigated the path, and life happened all so fast. No, it got lonely. Sometimes you see, I know we couldn't make it. Even when I'm offbeat, I still land on my feet, and nothing can shake me, cause I know my time. I never. This is where I am destined to be. I'm not ready to give up. I believe in the miracle of life. Life's a play with no rehearsal. Maybe they'll come for your blow. Games can play, can't take it personal. Cause the devil is a liar. I'm telling you the truth. It's only what you do. Some things you gotta do. It's like the millions. Take a second, see the blessing in it. With much expected, much is given. When I made the living, now I'm giving back to children. Never let the power come first before your happiness. Yes, you can be the best if you go the distance. Mix a little sweat with your persistence. You know that the best things are never instant. Just shine up, let us see your brilliance. Get up, open up your eyes now. It's the moment of truth. No backing down. We're bringing it tonight. For the children, it's a given. You gotta give it, be a blessing.
This my personal statement. Run the game like I'm acing. Learn and develop patience, determined to be the greatest. Yeah, bobbing and weaving, they changing up like the seasons. Indigenous to the grind, so I do it for all my people. Jabbing the competition, back up against the ropes. You fighting for recognition, I'm fighting just to promote equality where we lacking. Or cancer slowing our road. I'm confident we'll make it. We focus on common goals. Yeah.
Give back, give love, giving something away. Never give up, stand tall to fight another day. 2 toes, 2 feet, I stand on the ground. I'm going back soon and fight this final round. Life's a fight for no rehearsal. Learn quickly, they'll come for your blow. Can't take it personal, cause the devil is a liar. Telling you the truth, it's only what you do. Some things you gotta do. I'm gonna share all that I have and give to those in need.
Hey, what's up, Mike? I haven't seen you in years, man. It's great to see you, man. Yeah, I can't hear you, but I see you, man. Oh, man. Michael Thompson's in the building early, so we going to start him early to get him out early, man. I appreciate you coming in here, man. Let me do my roll call. What's up, man? What's up, Young World? Love is the word. Phil, DB, love is the word. AJ McKee. I didn't say love is the word the right way. Love is the word. Oh, man. Without further ado, man, the 2-time champ. What's up, Mr. Thompson? How you doing?
You guys, you got me?
Yeah, I hear you. I see you. How you feeling?
Oh, feeling good, man. Feeling good, looking good, and excited to just be here.
Oh, man. Thank you, man. I appreciate you taking time. I know your schedule is crazy, man. So I genuinely
not really, because the thing about it is my schedule's been cut in half this year because even though I work for the Lakers, call the games, we don't travel anymore. Everybody's at home now doing the games via Zoom.
Wow.
You know, so that because believe me, I miss going on the road because we travel first class, we stay in the best hotels, we go to all the games, calling the games from the studio off of a monitor. It's just so sterile. It's not. You got to be in the building now with fans, and we got to get back to normal ASAP.
Yeah. Speaking of the Lakers, man, they going viral. People think the plane is crashing, man. Everything is is going down. What's the synopsis today as you see the Lakers?
Well, only two things are plaguing the Lakers right now. Number one, they're not shooting threes well. The last couple of weeks, they just haven't been shooting the outside shots like they start off. And that's number one. And then number two, my goodness, they don't have Anthony Davis and Dennis Schroeder. Missing two guys. If the Lakers were healthy, they'd be fine. They'd still be in first place in the West if they were healthy, or at least right there with Utah if they were healthy.
Mm-hmm. When you was on your back-to-back campaign for championships, what was the hiccups that y'all had in the 80s?
We didn't have any. We were too good. Yeah, we didn't have any, man, because we had some studs on that Showtime Laker team, man. Nobody talked about load management. Nobody talked about being tired. Nobody worried about playing too many minutes. We had a job to do, and you talking about Kareem, Magic, Worthy, Byron Scott, Michael Cooper, AC Green, Kurt Rambis. You're talking about some of the toughest guys who ever played this game, the toughest competitors who ever played the game, and no excuses, not looking for no days off. This is a different time, man. People, I shouldn't say people, but some guys, I mean, LeBron's not like this. LeBron wants to play every game. Kobe wanted to play every minute. Michael Jordan the same way. Clyde Drexler, those guys never took nights off. Today's NBA, you hear about load management and guys worrying about playing too many games and too many minutes. I don't get that, because all these guys are superhumans. They're in phenomenal shape. They really are. They're different from you and me. They're not average humans.
No, they need to Google you. Man. You was in tremendous shape.
Yeah, I was then, of course. But now, we're talking about now, these young men and young ladies who play at this level, they're different from the normal human beings. So they should never talk about being tired. I know they're human, and we can get fatigued and need a day off here and there. Who doesn't? But these guys today, I think and plus, the good thing about the NBA now that was bad when I played was we practiced too hard. The season is so long anyway, and the games keep you in shape. Sometimes we practice 2.5, 3 hours, and that's too much stress on the body between games. But today, the NBA learned that all that extra practice is not good. It's too taxing on a player's body. So they give the guys a lot more days off or a lot less practice time, which is good, a good thing. So the Lakers, team like the Lakers, as long as they can just stay healthy and LeBron stays healthy, they'll be fine.
And does that play into like the guaranteed contracts and stuff?
No, I don't think so. Because when I played 35 years ago, I had a guaranteed contract. Now, we didn't have the money these guys are making today. Today, the money is just crazy money, even though I was making good living myself. And I wish I was making that kind of money today, even though it was 40 years ago. But I don't think the guys worry so much about the guaranteed contract, so they feel like they can take extra time off or not work as hard. No, these guys are all competitive and competitors, and they want to win. They want to play the game they love. People just need to stop thinking like they're tired and worrying about load man. Just go play. Just go to work like most people do in this world.
And how do you shape up the Western Conference? How good are the Clippers? I know you obviously got the Lakers number one, but how does the Clippers, Utah, and everyone else fill in?
Yeah, even though the Lakers' record don't reflect it right now, I still have them number one when they're healthy, when everybody's healthy. Even though Utah's playing great and shooting the lights out from three-point range. This is ridiculous what they're doing. We thought the Houston Rockets a few years ago shot a lot of threes and made a lot of threes. Utah's shooting even more and making more. They're just playing great. But the Clippers are for real, man. Anytime you got Kawhi Leonard on your team and you got good players around Kawhi Leonard, you are a serious contender. And so the Clippers are going to be right there in the playoffs. I expect to see them in the Western Conference Finals. If not them, it'll be Utah.
It'll be Utah. What did you make of the big three in New Jersey? You got to see them up and close a little bit. Well,
and listen, when they got Kevin Durant to team up with Kyrie Irving, I said, that team's coming out of the East. Just for those two guys. And then they added James Harden. Now you know they're coming out of the East. Now Philadelphia's playing great. And Milwaukee is still, around. But right now, when Brooklyn's healthy, you can book it right now, baby. In July, Lakers, Brooklyn in the finals.
Wow. And you got the Lakers winning in 6 or 7.
I'll take 7, but I wouldn't mind 6.
Now, let's digress a little bit. I was researching you before the interview. How did you go from the Bahamas, Miami, to cold Minnesota? Oof. Who was that recruiter that got you there?
Jim Williams and Bill Musselman. I don't know if you remember Bill Musselman.
Bill Musselman, bless his soul. Yeah.
Bill Musselman was the coach of Minnesota at the time. Jimmy Williams came down to Florida to recruit me and Osborne Lockhart, who played 20 years with the Globetrotters. Mm-hmm. And you're right. That was a culture shock going from sunny Miami I left Miami or going my recruiting trip to Minnesota. It was like around January or something. I don't know why I went in January. But I took off from Miami. It was 80 degrees. Landed in Minneapolis. It was 16 degrees. And all I had on was a light sweater. They told me, Mychal, bring something warm to wear because it's cold up here. I'd never seen snow before in my life. The furthest north I'd ever been was Tallahassee, Florida. Wow. So I hadn't even gone to Atlanta or anything like that. So, I did go to New York, but I went to New York in July in the summertime.
Right,
so,
humidity.
Yeah, so in the wintertime, I'd never been north of Florida in the wintertime. So when I got to Minneapolis, I couldn't believe how cold it was. And I said, people actually live in this? But Minnesota was a good school, is a great school, is a great conference. The Big Ten Conference is a great basketball conference back then as it is now. And I just overlooked the cold weather, fell in love with the campus, the city. The Twin Cities is a nice area. The state, people up there are really nice. And I figured, okay, I had other options. I could have gone to Houston, Florida State. But their programs weren't as big at the time as Minnesota was in the Big Ten. So Osborne and I decided to go up there.
And you had a great career. Obviously, the first pick in the 78 draft, correct?
78 draft, that's right. Yeah, it's 4 years in Minnesota. I could have left after my freshman year. In 1975, I could have left to go to the ABA. You remember the ABA with the red, white, blue ball?
Very much so.
Bill Musselman left after my freshman year, and he went to go take the San Diego sales job in the ABA. And he asked me and Mark Oberding if I want to leave school and come and sign with the San Diego sales and play with him there in the ABA. I was 19 years old at the time. I wasn't even thinking about the pros. I wasn't mentally mature enough like how the kids are today who are thinking about going pro when they're 15 years of age. I was just trying to get through classes at Minnesota and stay eligible, keep my grades up. So I wasn't even thinking about I'm going to be a pro basketball player. I wasn't even thinking about the NBA when I was a freshman and a sophomore. I was just thinking about staying eligible and having a good time at Minnesota and playing college basketball. But Musselman left in 75, so I could have signed with the ABA San Diego sales. Get this. He offered me, don't laugh, because you got to remember now, this is 1975. This was huge money in 1975. Okay. He offered me $180,000 a year. Huh? That's pretty good for a 19-year-old boy off the banana boat from the Bahamas, huh? That's a lot of money, boy.
That's a lot of money.
Who wouldn't take that today in 2021? Of course. Not a pro basketball player, of course, but just a common working man or woman would take that. But $180,000 in 1975 was a lot of money, but mentally and physically, I wasn't ready to go play with those men in the ABA. So I decided I'm going to just go back to Minnesota. And even my sophomore year and junior year, people were thinking about, hey, Mychal, you should apply for the NBA draft. But I wasn't even thinking about it back then. I was just thinking about going to college. So I wasn't in a hurry to go pro like how kids are today who just want to go pro right out of high school or as soon as, of course, they're eligible out of college. So back then I wasn't thinking that way. So I decided to stay 4 years in Minnesota, and I had a great time and loved every minute of it, even though I froze my tail off.
When you look back, do you think like that was the best decision to stay and become the first pick in the draft?
Yeah, I think so. Because if I would have left my junior year, I could have left. And I was thinking about it. I was thinking, maybe should I go pro? But I had heard that if I was going to go pro that year, the Buffalo Braves were going to draft me. Now, Buffalo ended up moving to San Diego. Yeah. But I'm thinking, wait a minute, Buffalo, I know a little bit about geography. I know it snows more in Buffalo than it does in Minneapolis. When I leave Minneapolis, I don't want to go into more snow. So I decided, no, I'll just go back for my senior year because I don't want to go play in Buffalo. Got a good football team, but I don't want to live there.
Right. And on a sidebar, thank you for helping me on the Freeman Williams documentary. We won over 10 film festivals, and the film I still haven't sold it yet, but we did a great job with it in terms of the film festival. And you did a hell of a job being a part of it, and I appreciate you helping us with that for sure.
You bet.
Yeah, that was
Freeman was ahead of his time. Can you imagine if he was playing today? The way these people shoot threes. Oh my goodness, he'd be averaging 30 points a game just shooting threes.
He'd be a max player, huh?
Oh yeah. The way he shoots, the way he could shoot the ball, yeah, he would definitely be. He would be a lot like who would you compare him to today? Maybe he didn't have the handles of a Bradley Beal. He would be more like probably like a Reggie Miller type. Just coming around, just shooting threes and running around. Yeah, he would have been that kind of player. Maybe a Lou Williams type, a guy who just knows how to.
Williams,
yeah, a guy like that
has a great knack, right?
Yeah.
78, you joined the Portland Trailblazers. How was that transition from the draft process to the first game in NBA?
It was easy for me because I wasn't going to a team that needed me to carry the team. I was going to a team that was 1 year removed from the NBA championship. And they had a bunch of veterans on the team like Maurice Lucas, Lloyd Neal, Lionel Hollins, all these guys who won a championship.
Right.
And of course, through some kind of trade mechanisms, Portland ended up with the 3rd pick in the draft. And then they traded that 3rd pick and another player to move up to the 1st pick. So I went to a team that was ready-made, that was already a playoff solid team, and that was competing with Kareem and the Lakers back then. So it was easy for me to make that transition because I could just blend in with all the veterans, established veterans on the team. So I wasn't like I had to go to Portland and carry that team. So I just listened to whatever Maurice Lucas told me to do. And I still had to go there and do my job. But it wasn't on me every night to put up 25 points every night to carry the team. That wasn't my responsibility. My responsibility was just to blend in and don't disrupt things, which was a real easy transition to do.
Why was your humility so high as an NBA player? Because in 2021, the egos are so high. You said follow Maurice Lucas. You probably could have took big money not to go play with Kareem Abdul-Jabbar.
Well, it's from my humble beginnings, from the way my father brought us up, teaching us Christian beliefs. We're not better than anyone else just because we're famous or we're making a lot more money than anyone else. We're the same as everybody else, whether it's a maid in a hotel or the richest man in town or whatever you do in life. We're all the same. We're all going to stand before God and be judged the same way. Wow. And I can't stand it when people have a lot of money or a lot of fame and they show it off or they use it to belittle people or put themselves above people. I can't stand that. And I see that today in the NBA from players. It really irks me when I see players ignore people because they know they're famous and they don't give people the time of day when people just want to say hello to them or get their autograph. They just walk by them and ignore them. I go, don't you remember when you were a kid and you were looking up to Magic and those guys, you just wanted them to say hi to you? So I was always brought up to treat everybody the same because we are all the same, no matter what we do in life. We're not better than anyone else, no matter what our color is, our race is, our gender. We're all the same, and you respect everybody no matter what they do or where they are in life.
Beautiful. How was your experience in Portland?
Loved it. Portland's a beautiful city. It is the most, I think, I always tell people in California this too, it's the prettiest part of America, the Pacific Northwest.
Really?
Oh yeah, the mountains, the greenery, the trees, the forests, the rivers, waterfalls, the volcanoes. I know it rains a lot up there, but that rain turns everything green and fresh. The air up there is pure and fresh. It is a beautiful. The scenery is just beautiful, and everything up there is really close knit. Like Portland was a real close knit city. Everything was close. You can get somewhere in 15 minutes. So It's even though it's a big city, it's kind of a small city. And Portland being the only professional team in town, they really adopted us up there as family, the Portland Trailblazer players. And they do that today for Damian Lillard and all these guys up there now. They treat them as if they're neighbors and friends. And they have that close-knit community up there in that city. And I love living up there. I didn't want to leave, even though I ended up with the LA Lakers, which I was very thankful for. I was hoping I'd play my whole career in Portland. And even after I retired, I spent another 15 years up there living up there with my family. I moved back to Portland. A lot of former Trailblazers do that. After they retire, they stay in the Portland area because it's such a nice area to live in.
And that's how you developed a great relationship with Kevin Love, right?
Yeah. My boys grew up with Kevin Love in Lake Oswego, just 6-7 miles south of Portland in the same area. And they played baseball together, basketball together. So, that's how Kevin Love and my boys would hang out on the weekends after their baseball or basketball games and just being together. So, yeah, he was a good kid growing up.
Yeah, I would see them a lot in LA, just hanging out and stuff, especially between the Drew League and at the time it was the what was the high school league too. I forget what but it's dissolved since. But yeah. And you also played with Clyde Drexler in Portland.
Yeah, Clyde Drexler was drafted by us in 1984, I think it was.
Sure, out of Houston.
85, right? 80. No, let's see. When was Drexler? Drexler was drafted in 83. That's right. And he was the reason why, I shouldn't say this because people will get mad at Clyde. Clyde was the reason why we didn't draft Michael Jordan. Because Blazer management and coaching staff thought, well, we already have Clyde Drexler, so we don't need to draft Jordan. How about that? Oof. I still get chills when I think about what could have been if we had Michael Jordan and Clyde Drexler. Oh my goodness. So they figured, well, we already got Clyde, so to take over the guard position, the wing position, so we'll go big, and they got Sam Bowie, who's a heck of a player, just that he couldn't stay healthy. But Sam could have been a multiple-time All-Star, but he just could not stay healthy. And no, he would have never justified being drafted over Michael Jordan. But Sam Bowie was no bust. He could play. 7'2", could shoot threes, could run the floor, could block shots, had post-up game. He could do it all. Just that he broke his leg and just could not stay healthy. And he would have helped us tremendously if he'd had a nice 10 or 12 or 15-year career up there. But when I got drafted up there, man, and Clyde Drexler came on as a teammate. I remember Clyde came in. We were in Houston playing the Rockets down there, and Clyde was still in college. And I saw him in the stands, and of course, we all knew who he was. And he was sort of like hanging out in the back in the hallway leading to our locker room. And I saw him there because he came to the game. And I said, "Hey, Clyde, come on, man, come back here. Come in the locker room with us." So I took him in the back. Wow. And he was just, I think he was a sophomore, I think. And I told Jack Ramsey, I said, "Jack, this is Clyde Drexler, University of Houston. Jack, we need to draft this kid." This is like the year he was going to come out. I said, "Jack, we got to get him." And Clyde lasted until the 14th pick in the draft, if you remember. And we drafted him. And, of course, you redid that draft now. Clyde would probably go 1 or 2 in that draft. He was that great. But, boy, I was so happy to get him. And he was a special player. He could do it all. He wasn't as good as Michael Jordan or Kobe, but he was awful close. Clyde could do it all.
Did y'all joke about that at times between you and Clyde? Man, we could have been playing. Michael Jordan. Yeah.
I should tell I said, "Clyde, it's no fault of yours, but you cost us Michael Jordan, Because, as a matter of fact, I told that to Magic Johnson when I was with the Lakers, Magic, Byron, and Coop. We sit in the locker room and we'd argue. I said, "Guys, think about this. If we could have had Michael Jordan and Clyde. Let's say Clyde was a small forward. We could have had Michael Jordan, Fat Lever. Remember Fat Lever? Yeah. Oh man, he could play. Fat Lever played for us in Portland, and he played for Denver. And he was like a triple-double point guard.
Him and Michael Adams in Denver, yeah.
Yeah, for Denver. We could have had a backcourt, basically a backcourt trio of Fat Lever, Michael Jordan, and Clyde Drexler. So I told Magic, Byron Scott. Now let me ask you: Jordan, Drexler, Fat Lever, or Magic, Michael Cooper, Byron Scott? Which backcourt you taking?
Oh, I'm taking Portland's. Easy.
I know. And I told that to Magic and Michael Cooper and Byron. They told me to go bleep myself, They say, "Are you kidding me?" They still thought they would be. I said, "Guys, if we would have drafted Jordan, I think the Lakers still would have won a championship or 2. But I don't think they would have won 5.
Oh.
Because it would have been going back and forth between them and the Blazers for obviously for Western Conference superiority. And sure enough, we would beat them sometimes, even though they still had Kareem and Jamal Wilkes and eventually James Worthy and people like that. But, man, if we had Jordan, just think how different the history of the NBA would be. And instead of Chicago having all those rings, the Blazers would have all those rings.
Right. And the draft orders would have been different because y'all would have won more games. So the Lakers may not have been in position to draft Worthy. You get what I'm saying?
They drafted Worthy. They ended up with Worthy because of a previous trade that somehow ended up being Worthy when the time came. That's how it ended up. It wasn't like they were so bad that they were able to get the number 1 pick and get Worthy. It's because they did a previous trade years before that turned out where Worthy, they got the number 1 pick when Worthy was coming out of school. So it was perfect timing for the Lakers.
And since you talked about, I know the co-hosts want to talk about, I want to save this. I'll save it for him because I know he's a big LA guy and he loves Kobe. So I'll leave it there. So you land with the Lakers. First day, did you go straight to Venice Beach? Because every time I Googled you, I saw some pictures with you on Venice Beach, man.
No, I did go. I went over there a lot to Venice, but I went to Gold's Gym. I didn't hang out on the beach. I was hanging out at Gold's Gym, working out, man, between games, lifting weights, pumping iron, trying to stay in shape, building up my body. So I did end up a lot of time in Venice, but not so much on the beach, just over at the gym over there, the world famous Gold's Gym. Is going over there and working out after practice. I don't know how I had the energy to do that because Pat Riley used to run us through some hard practices. And then after practice, I'd drive over to the gym and lift weights. And this was back in 1990 and 87. This was long before, years before people started weight training in the NBA. Back then, they used to tell you, don't lift weights because it's going to mess up your shot, make you too muscle bound. And it's going to mess up your touch. I said, man, kidding me? Since I've been pumping iron, I've never felt better in my life. Even though I'm 32, I feel like I'm 22. So myself and Kermit Washington were kind of like the pioneers in weight training in the NBA, because before us, nobody really was doing it. Now it's kind of mandatory that teams do it.
You just mentioned Kermit Washington. Are there any more tough guys in the NBA?
Yeah, I think so.
You play
Not
with
like
Mark.
how it was in the 60s, 70s, and 80s. No, because the toughest guy in the NBA that nobody would fight, of course, is James Johnson. And you know why, don't you? For the Philadelphia, James is an MMA black belt. Ain't nobody messing with that boy.
we got the same stylist, man. That's funny.
Oh, yeah. Ain't nobody messing with James.
He's a bad boy. He's a bad
boy. That's a you know, but guys back in my time would have fought him, but of course they would have got kicked in the face and knocked out. But
Robert Parrish.
Oh man, the Chief. Whoo. Quiet, don't get him mad. Yeah, it's a different time, because I still think they have tough guys, but not like how it was, because guys know if they throw a punch today, it's too expensive. You're gonna get suspended. You're gonna miss game checks, and these game checks are huge. We're talking about hundreds of thousands of dollars. The minimum salary in the NBA is around $900,000. So if you miss a game, you're talking about giving up maybe $60,000, $70,000 a game. Ain't nobody going to throw a punch to do that. Now, they may push guys, getting some guys start woofing and get a few technical fouls. But it's very rare to see guys throw a punch now, because when I played, you could throw a punch and hit someone, and all it was a technical foul. And you didn't even get kicked out of the game or suspended. And so it's a different time now. David Stern cleaned up the fighting after the Ron Artest, battle in the Palace. He says we can't have these kind of fights on the court, because they could spill into the stands. They could fall on some lady while you're fighting some guy or some kid, hurt that kid or lady or a guy. Next thing you know, you're getting sued because you hurt some fans in the stands. So it wasn't worth the risk. So it's good that they've taken fighting out of the game. But I still think they got a lot of guys in the league I wouldn't want to mess with. I wouldn't. So I just leave them alone. But they're not as tough as they were 30, 40 years ago, because back then those guys knew if you squared up and started woofing on somebody, you're going to have to fight. Today, guys know they can talk trash because no fight's going to happen today.
Right. You just mentioned Ron Artest, now known as Meta World Peace. How did Kobe and him get along so well? Because you talked about fighting. We all remember the choking incident.
Well, Kobe was the kind of guy, he respected you if you were tough and you backed it up. If you were a competitor. Kobe knew that Meta World Peace was a competitor. Wasn't going to back down from anyone. Was going to go out there and give his all on the floor. And so Kobe respected his toughness. And when you're tough like that, Kobe's going to respect you and want to be your teammate. So that's why him and Meta World Peace, Ron Artest, got along so well, because he knew Meta. Because he played against Meta many times, of course. So he knew how tough he was. He wasn't going to back down from the great Kobe Bryant. So Kobe respects that.
What do you think was in Kobe's head when Ron Artest didn't pass it back to him? When he took the three to win the championship?
I know Kobe was waiting for it over there for the ball, but Meta said, "No, I got this." And you're right. When he took that shot and made it, I even myself was going, no, but he made it, man. He wasn't afraid to take the shot, and one of the biggest clutch shots ever that sort of clinched the championship for the Lakers there in Game 7. But Kobe was having an off night. But I know he was Kobe Bryant. Kobe, I think that night was 6 for 24. He couldn't make a basket. Remember?
He had like 17 rebounds or something that day.
He got a bunch of rebounds. He was assisting, but his shot was off because Kobe wanted to win that game too much. So he was pressing. You could tell he was trying so hard to win that Game 7, because he knew, I can't lose Game 7 to the Celtics. I have 4 championships, but I cannot lose Game 7 there, because if I lose Game 7, this is going to haunt me forever. Losing to the Celtics, Game 7 at home. So he wanted it so bad that his shot, he was pressing too much, and he couldn't make shots, but he was still playing hard. So even though he was struggling, he still had the confidence. You know what Kobe was. He still had the confidence. Give me this. I could be 0 for 24. I'll be 1 for 25 after I make this shot.
Right.
That was his mentality.
Right. DB is finally here. What's up, DB?
Hey, man, I'm feeling good, man. Feeling like I'm bleeding purple and gold. Mychal Thompson in the building. How you doing, young sir?
Doing well. Looking forward to tomorrow's game against Damian Lillard and those Blazers.
Yeah, man. You guys talked about what the Lakers needed right now, but when AD was still healthy, what did we need to work on? Like, what were we missing when AD was still there?
Boy, when AD was playing, everything was clicking. They were shooting the three well. Caldwell Pope and Caruso were hitting like 50% of their threes. AD was dominating. Everybody was stepping up and playing with more of a comfort zone, comfort feeling, because they knew they had Anthony Davis. And So I thought everything was fine when AD was healthy. Teams could always improve, of course. The defense was adequate enough. I guess if they had to improve anything, maybe it was a little bit better defense in the paint. Even though Anthony Davis is a great rim protector, maybe sometimes they would give up a little too many points in the paint and depend on AD to clean it up with his defensive presence. But before Anthony Davis went down, and the Lakers were in first place, or at least right there with the Utah Jazz, and were clearly looking like the favorites to win the title. So then they'll get back to that level once AD gets back next month and he stays healthy.
Yeah, hopefully he doesn't come back too fast, man. So we would have him at full health. But right now, without AD, we got some injuries. What are we missing on the defensive side, and what can we do on the defensive side right now to get better until he gets back?
The problem with the Lakers right now is they're having trouble defending the paint. They're giving up like 62% field goal percentage in the paint. They can't defend the rim without AD. Marc Gasol is not a shot blocker. Montrezl Harrell really isn't either. So they don't have the paint protection they had last year with Dwight Howard and JaVale McGee. So they need to improve in that area better. And also defending the three. Last night, Utah had a bunch of open threes. And so they need to rotate out and get these teams off the three-point line a little quicker. Like tomorrow, they'll face another good three-point shooting team in the Blazers with Damian and Gary Trent and Carmelo. So they're going to defend the three really well tomorrow because teams know if you whip the ball around, the Lakers will leave a couple of three-point shooters open. So they got to improve their perimeter defense a little bit more until AD gets back.
Yeah, with this, if the Lakers, once the Lakers win the championship this year, that'll be 2 for Bron in the purple and gold. A lot of guys came in with the Lakers and won 1, 2, or 3. But with leading the Lakers to 2 championships, where does that place him on the all-time Laker list?
Oh, he will be right there with Magic and Kareem, even though obviously they had more time with the Lakers and they won 5 rings with the Lakers. But if LeBron can win another ring with the Lakers this year, I think he's right there on the Mount Rushmore of Lakers. Mount Rushmore of Lakers will now be Kareem, Kobe, Magic, and LeBron. Those will be the 4 faces. I think LeBron would supplant Jerry West off that Mount Rushmore if he can win another ring. And who knows, if he's done, he might win a 3rd ring. Because the way this young man takes care of himself, he's in the championship contention picture for the next 3 years, really, as long as he wants to play. Because he's in shape. He looks like he hasn't lost anything at 36 years of age.
Oh, Jesus Christ. Oh, man, I want to talk about a couple of personal things real fast. Do you wear green at all?
Yeah, the Celtics color don't bother me. I like green. Let's see, what would I wear that's green? Let me think about that. You got a good point. What do I have? I don't have any green socks, no green underwear. I don't have any green T-shirts, no green sweats or green coats. So, no, I guess you're right. I guess when I think about it, I don't have anything green other than money. But I guess I wouldn't be opposed to wearing green. People always say, don't you hate the Celtics? I say, you know what? I want to beat them, but how could you hate Larry Bird and Kevin McHale and Robert Parrish and Dennis Johnson? You had to have nothing but respect. You wanted to whoop them, but it's more respect than hate because those guys were so great and they were as tough as anybody's ever played this game. So when you're going against that kind of greatness and success, you got to respect them more than hate them. Even Muhammad Ali said he didn't hate Joe Frazier, and but that's the ultimate rivalry in sports. But they respected how great each other was, and that's that. So it's more respect than hate. Now Frazier might have hated Ali because Ali teased him so much, and sort of offended him and hurt his feelings when he called him Uncle Tom and stuff like that. So, but even he had to work through that, and even he said he respected Ali because how great he was.
Right.
Mm-hmm. When St. Patrick's Day come around, I usually just wear purple and gold. So I call it St. Championship Day.
Yeah, but I tell you though, it is fun when the Celtics fail to win, or when they're like how they're playing bad right now. It's fun to see that because I love every time I used to go to Boston. Me and Cedric Maxwell would get into about who was better, the Lakers or the Celtics. So we're tied now for championships, 17 apiece, and it looks like the Lakers will win their 18th before the Celtics will win their 18th.
Yes. Oh man. I was just hoping that I stayed alive long enough to see this day. This is that's going to be a beautiful day for me.
That's right.
This is something that the people that know you may understand this right here. Have you ever met Howie Mandel?
No, I never met Howie Mandel. I know if I ever did meet him, I know I can't shake his hand because he doesn't like to shake hands with people. And I'm kind of like the same way. I don't like to shake hands either. And I guess that's the only good thing about this pandemic going on is no more shaking hands. We could salute each other. We could bow like the Japanese bow. We could wave at each other, head nod. But I always thought, why do we have to shake hands? Because not that I don't like people or don't want to touch people, but that's how you transmit viruses. And in my line of work, I would be at the games. I meet so many great fans. Everybody wants to shake your hand. And I swear I used to get like 3 colds a season, from shaking hands. So, and that's why I always had my Purell and stuff. And I was way ahead of the hand sanitizer before everybody started doing it when COVID hit. I was doing this for years, trying to stay healthy.
Mm. And you and Max Kellerman, you and Max used to go back and forth with that too, right?
Yeah, definitely. Talking about that. Said, man, I ain't shaking nobody's hands. Say, what's the matter? You don't like people? So that's not it. I just don't want to get sick.
You're a big boxing fan too.
Oh, am I a big boxing fan? Listen, man, I love boxing, but I hate boxing. I can't stand boxing. You know why? These idiots in boxing. I hope they don't come looking for me.
Tell them. I have a big boxing platform. Tell them.
If these fighters today could fight as well as they could talk, we'd have some great fights. You know how sick I am about hearing about, for instance, I need to have like a conference and bring all the boxers together and just sit them down and sit and educate them on economics. Errol Spence and Terence Crawford, why haven't they fought yet? If Sugar Ray Leonard and Tommy Hearns and Roberto Duran and Wilfred Benitez and all those great welterweights were fighting today, they wouldn't fight each other. They'd all be talking about, well, this guy is with the wrong promoter, this and that. What is wrong with the lightweight division right now? You got 4 guys at top. They need to fight each other. But all they do is talk about fighting each other. It drives me crazy. Tyson Fury and Anthony Joshua. These guys making $100 million apiece and they haven't fought yet. A rematch. You get another $100 million. You haven't fought yet. And if you're Errol Spence or Terence Crawford, or if you're Teofimo Lopez or Devin Haney, why are you fighting this guy over here for $2 million instead of fighting each other and make $15 million? You know what I'm saying? Floyd Mayweather is right. He's the greatest ever because he understood business. He understood how to say, okay, if I'm going to box, I'm going to generate and make sure I make the most money if I'm going to get punched in the face. At least I'm going to get $40 million for it as opposed to $4 million. I don't understand these fighters. How they think today, guys. Why would I fight you for $5 million and I can go fight this guy for $20 million? Well, and then you worry about these stupid belts. Who cares about any stinking belts? Give them the belt. We're boxing fans. We don't care about no belt. Tyson Fury and Anthony Joshua could give away all their belts today. I wouldn't care. I still want to see the fight. I still would pay $150 to watch it. So would millions of other boxers too, boxing fans too. And then the other thing is these fighters worry about their O. Who cares about your zero? Oscar De La Hoya, Muhammad Ali, you can name Roberto Duran, Sugar Ray Leonard. They all lost, but they're still great fighters because they took the chance to fight somebody else great. And if they lose, you don't lose any marketability. You don't lose the ability to make more money. And if you do lose, have a rematch because we want to see the fight again. And we respect you because you're challenging yourself to fight the best. I don't understand these fighters today. They don't understand. Why am I going to fight you for $1 million if I can fight over here for $10 million? Well, the promoter, tell a promoter, bleep this and go make the fight. He works for you. You don't work for the promoter. That's why Canelo Alvarez is smart. He finally figured it out. Says, why am I letting Oscar De La Hoya tell me who to fight or pay me? I could do it myself. Now Canelo Alvarez is like Floyd Mayweather. He's his own boss. Smart. These other fighters need to start thinking this way too. It's frustrating, man. Like in the UFC, all the tough UFC fighters fight each other, and a lot of the guys in the UFC have 5 or 6 losses, but people still want to see them fight because they're fighting each other. It's frustrating.
Preach, Mike. Preach.
Oh, that's frustrating. I don't understand it. I wish I was the boxing commissioner, like how Adam Silver is the commissioner of basketball, and I would order all these guys to fight each other and stop making excuses. And if you lose, No one's going to lose respect for you. Anything you're going to admire you if it's a great fight and you lose, and you want to see it again, and you'll make another $20 million. Think about it. If you're Errol Spence, who probably makes $3 million a fight, he'll have to fight 10 times to make $30 million, as opposed to fighting Terrence Crawford once and making $30 million. Does that make any sense? Oh, it's frustrating.
Man, we've been fighting this battle, man.
Yeah.
I tell them
it's
all.
just simple economics. And if Crawford and Spence fight, you know it's going to be a great fight, and you want to see a second fight, and now you make more money. And if you want to retire at 32, you can afford to do it because now you just put $50 million in the bank. Oh, I don't get it.
Wow.
Yeah,
you're going viral.
You push the wrong button when it comes to boxing. I mean, me and Max Kellerman argue like this all the time, and Max agrees with me. How these boxers let these promoters stop them from making tens of millions of dollars.
Right.
It's weird.
Right. We couldn't agree with you more, man. The chat is going crazy, Mychal. Man, the chat is going crazy. I mean, I couldn't.
Are they agreeing with me?
Oh, very much. Oh man, we are in anguish over here.
Yeah.
Anguish. Like just fight. Like today, Teofimo signed with Thriller.
Yeah, Thriller. Yeah.
Yeah, that was.
He's gonna make like $4 million to fight this Cambosis guy. But Teo, we don't care about them stupid belts. Like who was it? Tyson Fury, Deontay Wilder was gonna sue Fury and stop him from fighting Joshua next because you know if I was Tyson Fury, I'd say, here, man, this is a WBC belt. I'll FedEx it to you. You can have the belt. I'm not going to fight you, Deontay Wilder, and make $30 million when I could fight Anthony Joshua twice and make $300 million. Here, have the belt. Nobody cares.
I mean, yeah, and that's what we want. Just the best fighting the best, man.
That's it. Yeah,
man.
And there's no shame in losing against a great opponent because Muhammad Ali lost to Joe Frazier and was still considered the greatest. Who is it? Sugar Ray Robinson. You know how many losses Sugar Ray Robinson has on his record? 17, was it? Something like that. 14 losses. And he's considered the greatest fighter in history. Yeah. But he's got 14 losses. These young fighters need to hear that.
Yeah, and speaking of Muhammad Ali, he drove to go get Joe Louis to make the fight.
You mean Joe Frazier?
Joe Frazier, yeah, thank you. Yeah. I mean,
right. They talked about it one-on-one, man-to-man. So yeah, we got to fight each other, you know, and because fighters back in that era, they challenged each other. They wanted to fight each other. Tommy Hearns, Sugar Ray Leonard. Yeah, we got to fight each other. So they chased each other. Today, these fighters, they just talk about it. All a bunch of talk. They should all have talk shows and talk about fighting because they ain't fighting.
I can't imagine what you and Max said when the cameras went off, man.
Oh man, yeah. All these fighters could beat me up with the two hands tied behind their back, but boy, they need to hear this. They all need to be challenged. Ryan Garcia. Ryan Garcia is a good fighter. He talks a lot, and I agree with Ryan. He's talking about fighting Tank Davis. He's talking about fighting Manny Pacquiao. But let's stop talking about it and make the fight then. Yeah. And go fight Pacquiao. That's a smart move for young Ryan Garcia. Why fight Devin Haney for $3 million? Fight Manny Pacquiao. You're bigger than Manny. You might lose, but you'll make $50 million. You know, and there's no shame in losing to Manny Pacquiao. I mean, right. Canelo Alvarez, a young Canelo, lost to Floyd Mayweather, and he still makes the most money outside of Tyson Fury and Joshua.
Right.
Yeah. My brother Reggie said, ask you your thoughts on Teofimo outsmarting Bob Arum.
Oh, yeah, that's good. I'm glad he did. He should have got away from Bob Arum, just like Floyd. Remember Floyd Mayweather got away from Bob Arum.
Right there, 50,000. Oh, yeah. Man. Oh,
Floyd said, man, bleep this. I'm gonna be my own boss. I'm not gonna let you run and Floyd was smart to do that, and Teo's smart to do that too. Mm-hmm. And so Teo's he's doing the right thing. Guys like Teo should be free agents and just sign one fight deals with each promoter. Don't tie yourself up for years. One fight deals. So okay, I'll work with Triller on this fight. Now who's got $10 million to offer me for the next fight? That's how you do it. That's what Floyd did. Now I'm kind of critical of Floyd now because now, as you know, Floyd is Tank Davis's promoter, right? So Floyd, okay, if you're Tank Davis's promoter, don't be protecting him. Put him in the ring against Ryan Garcia. Put him in the ring against Teo Lopez. Put him in the ring against Devin Haney. Don't like after Tank beat up little skinny Leo Santa Cruz. They asked Floyd, say Floyd, so who's Tank gonna fight next? Floyd's talking about, well, why are we talking about this now? Why does everybody want to know who's going to fight next? Because we're fans. We want to know, is he going to fight like Devin Haney next? The next big challenge. So I hope that Floyd's not going to try to protect Tank and bring him along slowly and not put him in with the best. Come on, Floyd. Don't be like that. Put Tank Davis in there right now with one of the best from the lightweight division. I don't want to see him fighting some number 9 ranked lightweight next. No. I want to see Tank in the ring next with either Teo, Haney, or Garcia. Otherwise, I think Floyd is hiding him. That's the only thing I can think of.
And they will hide. Floyd is gonna hide Tank. Oscar's gonna hide Ryan, and Teofimo Lopez is gonna probably finagle his way, try and find a loophole or something like that. These guys won't fight each other, man.
I know. It's like they're scared. They're either scared to challenge themselves or they're scared of losing their O. And nobody cares about your O fighters as long as you challenge yourself and you go out there and fight the best opponent you can possibly face. If you lose, we're going to respect you as long as you fight hard. You're not going to lose any respect or admiration from your boxing. You're not going to lose any boxing fans. If anything, you're going to gain more fans because you challenge yourself. That's what I like about Sean Porter. Sean Porter will fight anybody. Sean Porter will fight Anthony Joshua if you give him the chance. You know, Sean's trying to get in the ring now with Terrence Crawford, but Crawford's not interested. I don't get it. That'd be a great fight. I'd love to see that fight because Sean makes you come to fight.
Yeah, Sean. Did you hear Jamal Charlo and the David Benavidez banter? Did you hear that?
More talk, more yapping. That's all it is. That'd be another good fight. I love that. I love David Benavidez. I think David Benavidez could possibly beat Canelo, but Benavidez is the real deal, man. You know, and at 168, I think I'll pick him over Charlo. And I like the Charlo boys, but I'd pick Benavidez to fight to win that fight because he's busier and he punches harder.
Punches hard.
But once again, all talk. If you're talking all that trash, why not? Okay, get it done in the ring because that's a fight everybody would pay to see. That would be a good fight.
It would be a great fight. He said that. He said he had to take, and I was very critical of the Charlos, and they're probably mad at me right now. But he said that he has to pass a COVID test. He has to get vaccinated for them to fight.
Oh, come on. That's what they have COVID tests for before leading up to the fights. You know, they get tested weekly. So see, there you go. That proves you right there. You don't want to fight him. That's all that is. That's a way to get out of the fight. I'm disappointed hearing that from Jamal because Jamal and Jamel talk more trash than just about anyone out there. How good they are. Lions only. That don't sound like Lions only to me. That sounds like Lion. Lyin. Lion only.
Oh, Mike, man.
I hope them Charlo boys don't come looking for me because I'm running. I'm gonna run. Come on. But yeah, that why not fight David Benavidez? He doesn't have a fight. You don't have a fight, Charlo. Who wouldn't want to see that?
It's a big fight, and throw it in Texas because that's the only where we can have fans.
Exactly.
And we need something to clamor over. That's why David Benavidez was on the show maybe a month ago. Him and his dad. First, Charlo said he's not fighting a guy under 25. Then he said he got to get vaccinated, and then he said he had to catch weight. David Benavidez agreed to everything. I'll catch weight. He said, "What's next thing you gonna need? A GED?" He agreed to everything.
There you go. And you know, outside, okay. Here's the fights I want to see in order. Joshua Fury, gotta have that one. That's my number one choice. Second choice is Crawford Spence. That's my number 2 fight I want to see. You know what? The third fight I want to see, Benavidez, Charlo. I want to see all these fights. Oh yeah, Teo and any one of the lightweights. That's one of my top 4. But you know what? My 5th fight I really want to see, and they should try to make, and Canelo should try to make it just like Floyd made it with him when he was young and raw. Wouldn't you love to see Canelo Alvarez and Edgar Berlanga?
That's an interesting fight. That's an interesting
Mexico versus Puerto Rico. Canelo, because Berlanga's on the way up, and he's the same weight class as Canelo. Why not? Why wouldn't Canelo get him while he's young and raw? You know, as opposed to waiting a year or 2 or 3. Why not try test him now? Get him when he's inexperienced. Because you know Berlanga's knocked out 16 straight opponents in the first round. Man, even though people say, well, he's not ready yet. Well, now that's why Canelo should call him out and say, let's fight now. That's what Floyd did with Canelo. He knew Canelo was on the way up, and I better get him now because I won't be able to get him in a few years, right? So that was a smart move by Floyd. So why shouldn't Canelo do that now with Berlanga?
Right.
That's how you got to think, man. And Canelo can make $100 million for that fight because we'd all tune in for it.
Man, same weight class too.
Same weight class, easy to make.
Mm-hmm.
And if you're Berlanga, you're 16-0. Why wouldn't you take that fight? You probably could make $25 million, even if you lose. And who knows? He probably could win. As hard as that boy can punch, he might catch Canelo.
I catch him
because when I watch Canelo fight, he don't remind me of Marvin Hagler. Canelo can be beat. You know, Canelo's kind of methodical and he's technical. He's good, but people talk about Canelo, but I don't think he's in the Marvin Hagler class. So I think a guy like Canelo can get beat or can get caught by a young, hungry fighter like Berlanga.
I never thought about that fight. I always
Berlanga's right there. Berlanga's talking about he's a year away, year and a half away. Why wait? Do it now. If anything, it'll be a good learning experience for you, Berlanga, and you'll get $25 to $30 million. Yeah, I should have been a boxing promoter. I could have been better than Don King.
Oh, you definitely would have been better than Don King. I had his fighters on last week. They were sitting here. I had Chris Bird and Freza Kendo on last week together, and they were just in shambles. When you mentioned Don King, they just, you know, I mean, it just.
Yeah, we all know about Don King's reputation. I don't know how, because King wasn't born a rich man. He had to work his way up from the ghetto, from the slums. And we all know the reputation, the rumors about King and what fighters have said about him. How could you sleep at night knowing you ripped off fighters from their money? I don't get that. You know, why not look out for those guys to make sure that when they finish fighting, they're pretty nicely set up? You know, how do you know that you stole from these fighters' purses or mismanaged them to take money from them? I don't get that at all. How do you not respect a young man, another human being, disrespect a human being that way to steal from him?
Right.
It's just disappointing to hear that about how Don King didn't. That's why Mike Tyson had to leave him. Even Tyson said he was ripping him off. That's just sad. You would think black people would be looking out for each other in that situation, but no, it's stealing from them.
Right.
Disappointing.
DB.
Yeah, he was cooking on boxing so much. I was sitting back listening and enjoying this.
I could talk. I'd rather talk boxing than basketball. Are you kidding
me? Man, you got to come back. I have a really big boxing platform.
Coach. Yeah, man. I'm like, I hope all the boxing fans are as frustrated as I am. We are. I know COVID's happening, but you could put these fights on just with pay-per-view. Even though fans won't be in the stands, they can make up for lack of fans because people would buy those fights, the fights that we're talking about.
Absolutely right. No, you're absolutely right. And
we got to get you back in here with Kendall Gill. Kendall Gill.
Kendall Gill was my boy.
Kendall Gill's my guy.
When I worked for the Minnesota Timberwolves, Kendall was on the team. So we sit in the back of the plane and talk boxing all day. Love Kendall Gill.
Kendall's my guy.
Yeah, I used to tell him. I would tell Kendall just like I tell Max Kellerman. You almost know as much boxing as me. Yeah. Kendall was good. Yeah, Kendall knows his boxing, boy.
Yeah, Kendall's a great asset to this platform, man. And man, we done. It's an hour already, man.
Yeah. If I was a fighter, you know what my nickname would be? Bahamas Ali. If I was a fighter. That's right. Bahamas Ali, baby.
He's gonna ask you about Kobe. I know that's why I say it, because DB is the biggest Kobe fan. But Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, and if 2020 had been in Kareem's playing career, how would that have played out in your locker room?
What do you mean?
Like with the George Floyd stuff and the coronavirus, and because Kareem Abdul-Jabbar was pretty much into like
social justice and all that stuff, civil rights.
Yeah, civil rights. Yes.
Oh yeah. Kareem is still doing that, of course. Jeez, are you kidding me? Kareem, and from the '60s, he grew up in the '60s in the civil rights era. Mm-hmm. So guys like Kareem, athletes back in those days, they risked their lives back in the '60s, man, because they used to get death threats back in those days. America has evolved since then. The athletes today don't get those. LeBron James and all the outspoken activist athletes today don't get those kind of death threats that Jim Brown and Bill Russell and John Carlos, Tommy Smith, young Lou Alcindor or Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, Arthur Ashe, people like that were getting back in the '60s, talking about civil rights and social justice. those people back then were so brave because a lot of those guys, Tommy Smith and John Carlos, their careers were ruined because they spoke out about equality and at the 68 Olympic Games. And their lives were kind of ruined. And so they risked their careers. A lot of them sacrificed their careers and couldn't get a job after they were expunged from the white society because they actually were brave enough to speak out. But if Kareem was around today, he'd be right out in the forefront, which he is now, even in retirement, still talking about social justice and civil rights and equality.
Right. Who's the greatest basketball player of all time?
Boy, that's a great question. I think that comes down to 4 guys. And obviously, people of your generation always say Michael Jordan, and you're not wrong for saying that. Anybody listening to us?
I say Kareem. I got Kareem.
I say Kareem too, but people have forgotten about Kareem, I believe. If you say Michael Jordan, you're not wrong. A lot of people now saying LeBron, and LeBron has a good case to make. He's in the argument. He's in a discussion. Wilt Chamberlain. How do you forget about Wilt? Wilt has numbers out there that won't ever be even approached. Much less broken. It's a joke.
Come on, Michael, spit it out. Michael, spit it out.
Yeah, you look at Wilt's career, it's like cartoon numbers. How is that possible to average 50 points a game? Average 27 rebounds a game. Average 22 rebounds a game for his career. 30 points a game for his career. Why isn't Wilt Chamberlain considered the greatest player ever? 100 points in a game. Every record you look in the NBA record books, it's some guy accomplishes something. It's the most points since Wilt Chamberlain. It's the most rebounds since Wilt Chamberlain. It's everything. That's how it is. It's like people forgot about Wilt. But I think those are the 4 guys. And then how do you not talk about Bill Russell? 11 championships. One of probably the greatest defensive player to ever play the game. But people say, well, that's not scoring. But okay, so Kareem's the greatest scorer, and Russell's the greatest defender. That's half the court, half the game, right? Is playing defense. You can't win a championship without winning playing defense. And Russell won 11 of them. So how do we forget about him? So discussions but mainly 4 guys: Kareem, Wilt, LeBron, and Michael. And if you listen to people still talking about it today, that question, trying to answer the question, it seems like Michael still has the edge. But I tell you, if LeBron somehow catches Michael and gets 6 rings, I think and passes Kareem for all-time scorer, which he's probably going to do, then you got to throw LeBron right there neck and neck with Jordan and Kareem. So I guess I didn't say one guy, but I'm like you. I think Kareem's the greatest high school player ever.
He didn't lose till he got to the pros, man.
He's the greatest college player ever, and he's one of the 2 or 3 greatest NBA players ever. 6 championships, 6 MVPs, all-time leading scorer. So yeah, Kareem, he's the greatest.
Lost 1 game in college, if I'm not mistaken, right?
I know, 1 game, and he would have won 4 championships, but they didn't let freshmen play when he came in. Kareem's freshman team beat the defending championship team in a scrimmage.
Yeah,
the same at UCLA. They scrimmaged the championship guys who came back, and Kareem's freshman team beat them. So if that stupid NCAA rule would have allowed freshmen to play back then, how stupid a rule was that? Kareem would have won 4 championships at UCLA. That's how great he was.
Yeah, for sure. DB?
Yeah, Michael Thompson used to be one of my favorites, man. What happened to Michael Thompson? Yeah, Kobe Bryant is number 1. I think what he meant was Kobe was the king, and then these other guys were ranked number 1 through 2, 3, and 4 behind Kobe. That's what he meant. I understand now.
Yeah, Kobe. Maybe Kobe doesn't get enough respect, but I think most people put Jordan above Kobe.
Yeah, well, most people just don't have their brains right. So let's get more Kobe talk. So Kobe, the greatest Laker of all time, greatest player of all time, he'll have a statue in front of the Staples Center, maybe 2 statues. What pose do you think they're going to use for Kobe statues?
Oh, that's a good question. What pose? Let's see. Kobe he was so cool. Is it going to be a move off the dribble? Is it going to be in a jump shot kind of a way? Kobe's jumper? Maybe it should be Kobe's. Oh, I know it should do. Kobe had that like 1-legged fall away jumper. You remember that? He would like post you up and then fall backwards. Yeah, like that with 1 leg out. Yeah, I think that's the pose that should be in. Like with his arms outstretched, follow through on a fadeaway jumper. I think that'd be the one.
But I heard rumors of there being two, one with the number 8 and one with the number 24. So what would the other pose be?
Then the other one's got to be probably him soaring in the air. Because remember when Kobe was young, boy, that boy could get up. And he had some ferocious dunks. So he had to be somehow soaring in the air, sort of like in a lean with his arms stretched out, getting ready to dunk the ball.
Yeah, I know just the photo too. He had an afro, had his arms both arms cocked back with his knees bent.
Yeah, something like that.
Yeah. All right. So if there was just one moment in Laker history, the one greatest moment in Laker history, what would it be?
I would say it would be the 80. I think it was the 85 championship when the Lakers finally beat the Celtics. I think that was it. It wasn't 87 when I was there, 85, because the Lakers had never beaten the Celtics in the finals. And even though they've won many, many championships, they beating the Celtics, that meant the most. I think that probably broke the Lakers through that Celtic barrier when Pat Riley and the Lakers beat the Celtics in 85. So I think that's the most important because they beat their arch enemy the first time.
Is that the one where Chick Hearn's Magic just what I thought, a hook shot down?
No, that was the 87. The 85 one was remember in 85 they lost the first game like 148 to 114. They got crushed in the first game.
Yes.
And then the Lakers came back and won that series because everybody thought the series was over after game 1. They got beat so bad, but yet the Lakers came back and won that in 6 games, I believe.
Yeah, Boston with that weird Boston Garden floor that they used to have soft spots in.
That's right. Yeah, that old historic floor.
Parquet,
right.
Boston. Parquet.
Yeah.
So Kobe had an 81-point game, which is equivalent to maybe Wilt scoring 101 points. He also had that 60-point retirement game. Which Kobe game is the most, iconic game?
Yeah, that's a good one. The 81 was against Toronto, middle of the season. 60 was his last game. But I think when the Kobe coming out game, when everybody realized, this boy's pretty special. He's the next one.
Indiana.
When he put the Lakers on his back. He had a bad ankle, remember? He had a bad ankle.
Yeah.
Shaq had fouled out. Kobe told Shaq, don't worry, I got this. And he just destroyed Indiana. I think that was his coming out game. Everybody said, yep, he's special. So that's the one. Because it's in the finals too. So that carries a whole lot more weight than a regular season game or a regular season achievement.
Absolutely right.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I know you played for Coach Ramsey, and Coach Ramsey was a good, hard-nosed coach, but then you played for Rouse too. And everybody talked about Rouse being, like a hard disciplinarian. So if guys were not professional or just didn't meet his quality or his standards, what was the disciplinary actions that he would take?
You get cut. That's it. Riley doesn't suffer fools, or immaturity. He expects you to be a man. He expects you to do your job, show up on time, work hard, and hold down your responsibilities. If you can't do that, him and Magic Johnson would say, "See you later. Have fun at your next job or your next team." They ain't got time. They ain't got time for that. So that's how Riley and Jack Ramsey were. They were true professionals. The way they approached their job, and they expected you to be a professional too. No clowning around. You can have fun, but when it's time to go to work, it's time to go to work, and don't be late.
Who coaches that Laker great team? Pat Riley or Phil Jackson?
Oh, Rouse, because he's a Laker. Phil's great. But Rouse is a Laker. Rouse came in as a Laker, and he'll always be a Laker.
Yeah, so I want to see how deep your purple and gold runs. So Clay's in the finals against the Lakers with his team. Would you rather for Clay to have a 20-point game and win a title, or Clay take this last second shot and lose to the Lakers with a 40-point game?
Well, anytime you're a parent, you want your kid to be happy and to achieve more than you've ever achieved. So I'd always pull for my son to win, no matter what I'm doing to beat me. I'd rather my son be successful than me be successful. Now, Laker fans won't agree with that. They'd want the Lakers to win. But personally, I'd rather see Clay have success than from my team to win. Just can't pull against your kid. Can't pull against your son, no matter what.
Who says the prayers at Thanksgiving now? Because he got 3 now, right?
Yeah, he's got 3.
So is he the man of the house?
I know it's frustrating. He's got 3, but it's frustrating because they should have had 5. They lost to the 73 game team. Lost game 7 at home against LeBron. Should have won that, and then they would have swept Toronto if they were healthy.
Yeah,
that's the frustrating thing about it. Injuries happen; it's part of the game, and you have to accept that. But even though they won 3, Clay and I will sit around and sometimes we talk about the 2 that got away.
Right.
The one against LeBron in 16, and then the one in 19 against the Raptors. If KD. Remember when KD came back for that 1 quarter before he got hurt?
Oh, and he was
he had like 10 points in like 2 minutes.
Yeah.
And the Raptors were like, what happened? They don't know that KD just gave everybody a glimpse of what would have been if he was healthy. They would have swept the Raptors.
Right. What were you thinking when Clay threw? I mean, when tell me your reaction when Steph threw that behind the back pass in that game 7.
It's just frustration. You just go, Steph, no.
I couldn't get it. I couldn't. Yeah. I was like, what are you doing? It's the 4th quarter, man. What are you doing? Yeah, on the perimeter has no purpose. It has no purpose on the 30 feet away from goal.
That's the way Steph plays, though. He plays with a flair, and and I guess he just had being himself.
Yeah. Man, this was a fun time, man.
Yeah, you got me all worked up. I shouldn't start talking boxing now. I need to go outside and take a walk. I got to calm
down. Man, we truly thank you for coming on, man. You lit us up tonight, man. Man, the chat is going crazy. And obviously, we wish your son great recovery. And man, can I ask you one more question?
Sure.
Yeah, thank you. You had what's your opinion on LeVar Ball? Because LeVar has 3 boys, 3 professional athletes. You got 3 boys, 3 professional athletes.
I love LeVar. I love his confidence. I love his belief in his boys. I love the way he supports his boys. Yeah, sometimes he says outrageous things, but I don't take that seriously. I like the way he believes in Lonzo and LiAngelo and LaMelo. And so far, he's been right. Now, Lonzo is going to be a long-time pro. LaMelo looks like he's going to be special. And that boy looks like a more souped-up Jason Kidd. I love LaMelo Ball. And LiAngelo, who knows? Maybe someday he'll get a shot in the league. He just can't give up on his dreams either. If I was him, I'd keep pursuing. But I love the way LeVar promotes his boys and the way he believes in them, the way he promotes basketball. He's been quiet this year. We haven't heard from him. I'm disappointed because I like he's being interviewed. I miss LeVar. Right. But I'm a big fan. I'm a big fan of his. And the more he talks, he's like a carnival barker. But he believes in his boys, and he's a strong father figure, and that's what we need more of. More fathers like him.
Right. DB, get him out of here.
Good, yeah. Look forward to hearing you, John, Stu, Billy Mack. Love hearing you guys call them, man. I remember as a little lad, I listened to the games if the Lakers were away. What I do is I pause the TV and I turn on AM and listen to Chick and Stu over the radio. So, I've always been connected to listening to the games that way, man. But love hearing you guys call them. You're great at it. You got the purple and gold in your blood. And, man, I hope us success because I am a Laker too. And, wish you and your family good health. And thanks for coming to spend some time with us in the barbershop.
Yeah.
Anytime, man. Anytime. Love being in the barbershop. That's the best sports talk in the world.
Man, I appreciate you coming. You lit us up tonight. And we're going to call you much sooner than later, man, because boxing is a staple for us, man. And I would, next big fight, I'll your availability and see where you're at, man. And you've always come through for me, man. And
next big fight, you must be talking about the UFC because it ain't happening in boxing. Tell your chat room to get on Charlo and all these boys and tell them to stop ducking and running.
And they will. And thank you, man. I appreciate always coming through for me, man. Thank you, man.
Buddy. You bet. My pleasure. Talk to you guys later.
All right, for sure. Man, what a fun interview, DB.
Man. Yeah, I got mad for a second and should have to catch myself. You know what I'm
saying? Because you're a Kobe fan, man. Man, it's okay. People got their own opinion, man. Michael can be great too. You can love Malcolm and Martin. You can love both. You can love Marcus Garvey and W.E.B. Du Bois, man. Come on, man. Man, I'm hyped right now, man. I'm hyped right now, man. I'm hyped.
He knew his boxing, though.
God.
Man, that had me pumped.
I listen to him every day with Max Kellerman. Every day, man. That was a hell of a show, man. Hell of a show out here, man. 710. Was it 710? ESPN?
Yep, 710 AM.
710, yeah. All the time, man. And
He be giving Kellerman the business.
Oh,
too.
he do. I remember when
I didn't realize he was on there all the time, though.
Yeah.
I've seen him on there 2 or 3 times, and